In the glittering neon haze of the late 1980s, when synthesizers shimmered across FM radio and MTV dictated youth culture, a teenage girl with a powerhouse voice stepped into the spotlight and changed the rules of pop stardom. Tiffany wasn't launched through the usual nightclub grind or television talent contests. Instead, she rose from an unlikely stage, America's suburban shopping malls, transforming everyday spaces into electrified arenas of screaming fans and flashing cameras. At just 16 years old, Tiffany represented something both aspirational and relatable. She wasn't distant or untouchable. She felt like the friend down the street who just happened to sing like a seasoned professional. Her bright, expressive vocals carried both youthful innocence and emotional maturity, allowing listeners to connect instantly. In an era overflowing with glam, glitter, and larger-than-life personas, Tiffany's authenticity became her superpower. But behind the infectious hooks and chart-topping success was a young artist navigating an industry that moved at breakneck speed. Fame came almost overnight. One moment, she was performing for curious shoppers leaning over balcony railings. The next, she was headlining sold-out tours and topping Billboard charts. The transformation was dizzying, thrilling, and at times overwhelming. Her story is not merely about a hit cover song or a clever marketing strategy. It's about timing, belief, and resilience. It's about how a teenager stepped into a cultural moment perfectly aligned with her voice and image, then fought to grow beyond it as trends shifted and the spotlight moved on. This is a journey of Tiffany. From mall tour sensation to global pop icon, from teen idol to enduring performer whose voice continues to echo decades after her first #1 hit. Long before platinum records and mall-sized crowds, Tiffany was simply Tiffany Renee Darwish, a young girl with a dream far bigger than the stages she first stepped onto. Born in 1971 and raised in California, she grew up surrounded by working-class values and a deep love for music. Country tunes, classic pop melodies, and powerful female vocalists filled the air of her childhood, quietly shaping the tone and style that would one day define her sound. Tiffany's talent surfaced early. By the time she was performing at local fairs, festivals, and small talent competitions, audiences were already struck by the contrast between her youthful appearance and her mature, commanding voice. She didn't just sing songs, she delivered them with conviction. There was grit in her tone, clarity in her high notes, and an emotional weight that felt beyond her years. Her big break began to take shape when she started working with manager George Tobin, who recognized not only her vocal ability, but also her star potential. Under his guidance, Tiffany honed her stage presence and recorded demo tracks that showcased her range. Unlike many aspiring singers who were molded into something artificial, Tiffany's appeal rested in her authenticity. She was relatable, bright-eyed, energetic, and refreshingly genuine. Still, the music industry is rarely patient with youth. Signing a recording contract at just 15 meant stepping into an adult world of negotiations, expectations, and relentless schedules. While most teenagers were navigating high school hallways, Tiffany was navigating studio sessions and promotional planning. The pressure was immense, but so was the opportunity. What set Tiffany apart, even in these early stages, was her work ethic. She rehearsed tirelessly, learning how to command a crowd and deliver live performances with confidence. Each small appearance became a stepping stone, each modest crowd a rehearsal for something much larger waiting on the horizon. The beginning of Tiffany's story isn't about overnight fame. It's about preparation. It's about a young girl with an extraordinary voice putting in the work long before the spotlight found her. Because when that moment finally came, when the world was ready for a new teen sensation, Tiffany would be more than prepared. She would be unstoppable. By the mid-1980s, the American mall had become more than a shopping destination. It was the beating heart of teen culture. Fashion trends, music, and social life converged under fluorescent lights and marble atriums. For Tiffany, this cultural phenomenon presented the perfect stage to connect directly with her audience. Her team devised an innovative approach. Instead of relying solely on radio or traditional club performances, Tiffany would take her music straight to where teenagers were, shopping malls. The strategy was unprecedented. Tiffany performed in food courts, atriums, and common areas, often with nothing more than a microphone, a small band, and a growing crowd of curious teens. It wasn't just a concert, it was an experience. Teenagers pressed over balconies, crowded stairwells, and stood shoulder to shoulder in front of makeshift stages, screaming for a singer who felt like one of them. The energy was electric, intimate, and contagious. Each mall appearance generated a ripple effect. Fans spread the word to friends and classmates, and soon, Tiffany's name began appearing in local papers and radio announcements. The strategy relied on authenticity rather than spectacle. Tiffany's relatability and enthusiasm were as important as her voice. Teens saw themselves in her, and her music became a soundtrack to their daily lives. In 1987, her cover of I Think We're Alone Now exploded onto the Billboard Hot 100, hitting #1 and cementing her status as a pop sensation. The song, originally a hit in the 1960s, found new life through Tiffany's fresh, spirited performance. Overnight, the teen performing in malls became a national star. Her self-titled debut album followed, eventually achieving multi-platinum status and making her one of the youngest female artists to top the Billboard 200. The mall tour wasn't just a promotional tool. It was a revolution in pop marketing. Tiffany's success proved that connecting directly with fans in their own spaces could create a cultural phenomenon. This chapter of her story highlights ingenuity, timing, and the sheer joy of live performance, setting the stage for the whirlwind fame that was about to engulf her. By the late 1980s, Tiffany had transformed from a mall sensation into a bona fide teen idol. Her songs dominated radio waves, music videos were in constant rotation on MTV, and her image, feathered hair, bright smile, and relatable charm, became the blueprint for young pop stardom. Posters of Tiffany covered bedroom walls across America. Magazines featured her on their covers, and merchandise ranging from lunchboxes to calendars flew off shelves. She was no longer just a singer. She was a cultural touchstone for a generation of teenagers. Hits like Could Have Been showcased her versatility, proving that she could handle more than upbeat pop covers. The ballad displayed emotional depth, giving audiences a glimpse of the young woman behind the teen idol facade. Her ability to convey both vulnerability and strength through song cemented her connection with fans, many of whom felt she understood the highs and lows of adolescence as intimately as they did. But with enormous fame came enormous pressure. At just 16, Tiffany was navigating a fast-moving music industry that demanded perfection, constant publicity, and adherence to an image carefully curated for teenage appeal. Behind the curtain of smiling photos and screaming fans were grueling schedules, contractual obligations, and the stress of public scrutiny. The music world was unforgiving, and comparisons to fellow young stars like Debbie Gibson were constant, both a marketing angle and a personal challenge. As the 1990s approached, musical taste began to shift. Grunge, R&B, and hip-hop started dominating the charts, and the bubblegum pop wave that had lifted Tiffany to the top began to ebb. Teen idols often struggled to transition beyond the personas that made them famous, and many vanished from the public eye. For Tiffany, this period marked a critical juncture. Could she grow as an artist while staying true to the fans who adored her? At this stage, it tells the story of fame's exhilaration and its cost. It's about standing at the pinnacle of pop culture as a teenager, capturing hearts nationwide, and learning the lessons of life under a spotlight that never dims. Tiffany's triumphs were monumental, but so too were the challenges that would test her resilience and define her future as an artist. The 1990s dawned. The music landscape that had elevated Tiffany to superstardom began to change. The infectious teen pop wave that carried her to the top gave way to grunge, alternative rock, and R&B, leaving many former teen idols struggling to stay relevant. For Tiffany, it was a pivotal moment, a crossroads that would determine whether she faded into nostalgia or evolved as an artist. Rather than retreat, Tiffany embraced reinvention. She experimented with new musical styles, incorporating rock influences and more mature themes into her work. While these efforts didn't replicate the chart dominance of her teen years, they showcased her growth as a vocalist and performer. Fans who had grown up with her music followed her on this journey, appreciating the authenticity and emotional depth she now brought to her songs. Beyond the music itself, Tiffany explored other avenues in entertainment. She appeared on reality television, ventured into acting, and performed at concerts celebrating 1980s nostalgia. These projects allowed her to reconnect with longtime fans while introducing her artistry to new audiences. Over time, She cultivated a career built not just on fleeting teen fame, but on sustained dedication to her craft and audience. Resilience became the defining trait of Tiffany's career. She endured the pressures of early stardom, the challenges of shifting musical trends, and the scrutiny that comes with being a public figure from a young age. Yet, through it all, her passion for music never waned. Tours, independent releases, and collaborations allowed her to remain active and visible, proving that she was more than a pop culture moment. She was an enduring artist. This chapter of her life highlights the power of adaptability and determination. Tiffany's story reminds us that fame is fleeting, but persistence, creativity, and a willingness to evolve can sustain a career long after the initial spotlight fades. From mall tour sensation to seasoned performer, Tiffany's journey reflects not only the highs and lows of the music industry, but the resilience required to navigate it with grace and purpose. The story of Tiffany is not confined to the hits she released or the crowd she drew. It is measured by the lasting imprint she left on pop culture and the music industry itself. Tiffany helped define the teenage pop idol phenomenon of the 1980s, proving that young performers could connect directly with their audience in ways that were both personal and revolutionary. Her mall tour strategy didn't just promote an album, it transformed how record labels and artists approach fan engagement, laying the groundwork for future generations of teen stars. Songs like I Think We're Alone Now and Could Have Been continue to resonate decades later, their melodies and lyrics capturing a timeless sense of youthful longing and emotional honesty. Her music has inspired countless artists who came after her, showing that authenticity and relatable storytelling can be as important as vocal prowess or visual image. Tiffany's approach to her career, balancing commercial success with personal growth, also became a model for artists navigating the transition from teen fame to adult artistry. Beyond music, Tiffany's legacy lives in the way she embraced reinvention and resilience. Few teen idols of her era maintained relevance long enough to redefine themselves publicly, yet she did so with courage and creativity. Her willingness to evolve, explore new genres, and return to her roots with pride underscores a career defined not solely by early success, but by longevity and dedication. Her story also carries cultural significance. Tiffany became a symbol of the 1980s teen experience, a figure whose image and sound evoke nostalgia, yet continue to influence modern pop sensibilities. From mall stages to global tours, from teen superstardom to a seasoned performer, Tiffany exemplifies how an artist can endure by embracing change while remaining true to their core identity. Her legacy reminds us that fame is fleeting, but impact is lasting. Tiffany's voice, her pioneering approach to connecting with fans, and her resilience in the face of an ever-changing industry secure her place not just in 80s pop history, but in the broader narrative of popular music, a legacy that continues to inspire and entertain new generations. Interesting facts. Tiffany was only 16 years old when her cover of I Think We're Alone Now hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, making her one of the youngest female artists to achieve that milestone. Her mall tour included over 100 performances before her album even exploded nationally, an innovative approach that became legendary in pop marketing. She was nominated for American Music Awards in 1988 and 1989, including Favorite Pop/Rock Female Artist. Tiffany famously posed for Playboy in 2002, marking a bold departure from her teen idol image and signaling her evolution as an adult performer. She had a friendly but widely publicized rivalry with Debbie Gibson, another teen pop sensation, which later turned into joint tours and mutual respect. Her debut self-titled album went multi-platinum, selling millions worldwide and producing several top 10 singles. Tiffany also made appearances in television and film, including roles in movies like Drive Me Crazy in 1999, showcasing her versatility beyond singing. In 2011, she returned to touring internationally, performing her classic hits while introducing new material, maintaining a loyal fan base decades after her debut. Her influence can be seen in the careers of later teen pop icons, inspiring performers who sought to connect authentically with fans while navigating early fame. The story of Tiffany is more than a tale of 1980s nostalgia. It is a testament to talent, timing, and resilience. From performing in the bustling food courts of suburban malls to topping the Billboard charts, Tiffany captured the hearts of millions with a voice that was at once youthful and remarkably powerful. She became the emblem of teenage possibility, a pop icon whose song defined an era and whose persona made fans feel seen, heard, and inspired. Yet, Tiffany's journey is not only about meteoric success. It is about evolution, facing the pressures of early fame, shifting musical trends, and the relentless gaze of public scrutiny. She adapted, experimented, and persevered. Her career spans decades, from teen idol to mature performer, marked by a willingness to embrace change while staying true to the passion that ignited her first stage performance. Tiffany's legacy resonates not just in the music she created, but in the ways she transformed pop culture. She proved that a shopping mall could become a stage, that a teenager could become a global icon, and that resilience and reinvention are just as essential as talent in a lasting career. Today, when her songs play, there's more than nostalgia. There's a celebration of artistry, determination, and the timeless power of a voice that refused to be forgotten. Tiffany's story reminds us that pop stardom is fleeting, but impact is enduring, and that every note sung carries the echo of the fearless teen who once believed she could turn a mall into a world stage and succeeded.